in 2000, at some point 1% in 2011, the final was aligned with the career it appears to have gone down. And we solved their immediate building argument is wrong because our evidence indicates that LPR is critical to, and that these LPRs remit more to their immediate families. Here's more evidence. Cortina in immigration of children and women only choosing for reduction was applied to their remittances for records more fewer remittances for middle income savers, and the less to solve the majority of remittances. That's what he said. Kabani evidence, even if we don't solve all of them, we reduce the scale of losses critical to press government to adopt economic reforms that makes detection of money laundering easier. That's Rosser. And Barajas also Latin American corruption costing Amazon with deforestation Bradshaw. And 9 the government's tropical branch of first degree really important to find first thing conservation act comes to ask the March reduce the fed about government to illicit competition limiting deforestation protected areas in the Amazon extinction and Ghana when atheist issues threaten are very the species supply 20% of the oxygen for public carbon dioxide destroy the opposite like the lungs of the planet, the money laundering advantage group, the 1 through 4 reducing the scale of remittances is critical. That's Rosser and Farah. In George Texas recognized times against the repressions critical personnel taxes this year was by cell and the nuclear deputy is enough political pressure for us to retaliate triggering nuclear conflict. None of their impact defense takes into account the idea that even if conventional, it will touch off tensions between countries in Asia, which is better access is the disad impact there. Auto land sales are relevant because it's not about the source, but rather how they transfer that money. Also, the Baltash arguments don't assume that that narco-terrorists are increasingly using digital channels to transfer that money. The jobs argument, we're not going far to extend that there's no impact proliferation because which is slowly stable, which proves that other countries would not be freaked out by North Korean nukes because they assume that they're crude because they are new nuclear power. The counterclaim conditionality is illegitimate and voting issue time constraints over nature under to AC strategy independently conditionality versus value debate by causing superficial exploration of competing policy options and takes are legitimate and a reason to reject the team trivialize the debate by focusing on small procedural differences in plan counterplan undefined topics as big education error from because plan inclusion is infinitely aggressive permutation due to the counterplan. It is not competitive. If I said I should throw a party and give college students a prize at the door, that statement is not mutually exclusive with the statement that I should throw a party and only give math majors a prize at the door because my initial statement didn't say that I should give prizes to every single college student. The plan does not say that the USFG should no longer apply the December 21st 2K requirement for all visas. It says that the USFG should no longer apply the deadline requirements for V visas, which includes the possibility of the counterplan's exclusion. The permutation doesn't sever anything because it meets the initial conditions set up by the plan. It removes the December 2K requirement for the V visa. The kind of counterplan justifies excluding Madagascar, Yemen, and Suburban, which is impossible for the affirmative to meet. There's no net benefit because they're internally to the economy is terrible. It indicates that they would spend money on things like housing, clothing, and food, which are, in what I see evidence all contextualizes, this is something that creates unproductive investment, which creates structural deficiencies in the economy. More evidence, Barajas, in 9 different compensatory remains for the province will be received by household high margin profits, which presume simply not being directed towards investment, digital consumption, rather than investment because the presence of credit constraints. This would imply positive effects on household wealth, but not necessarily the economic growth remains received will be expected to have a negative effect on labor force participation from institutions may be plagued by severe moral hazard problems. Moral hazard problems making subject to firm research and thereby reducing their labor market effort. More evidence that productive investment is rapidly economies there on. And 9, the macroeconomic behavior performance is much closer to typically transfer those countries higher levels of poverty, low levels of non-attractive investment, high performance is less idle. 9 necessary levels for money process development. Moreover, occurs in very unfavorable economic environments that look at the restrict their real impact. Permutation do the plan limiting it permutation. Permutation do the plan limiting it to Jordanians. There's no internally to political instability. The oil pipeline also non-uniqueness. They also cannot solve terrorism because our evidence indicates that narco-terrorists are linking up in the Middle East. That Latin American drug trafficking organization are linking up with Middle Eastern terrorist organizations like Hezbollah, which means that the counterplan would simply create a new operating base, which is Jordan. There's no impact in Middle East war fight waste and 7 Middle East severe civil undisturbed governments. Non-member regimes have been the power protecting the region of Israel, potentially destabilization forward. Likely just against breach experiences very little cross-border violence to critique permutation. Do both permutations do the alternative and plan and all non-mutually exclusive parts of the alternative. The framework is that you should answer the Northern question of what the United States government should do in that framework. Their critique is not a reason to vote negative, and that's important for clash and education and focusing on epistemology of destroying politics, cloud, and 6. Perpetuating intellectual resignation, consisting social relations, regarding critique and resistance to or false for what to whom there is no permanent essentially difference in reality category. Reality is necessary. Political judgment, the one he sees as a disadvantage because our hegemonic argument proves that the United States needs to have a comparative advantage over other countries. Their argument is silly. They don't limit the partisan visa system, which means this problem natural permutation will be able to solve it. We do not bring them here for the benefit of the United States, but rather for a global benefit, which is proven by our advantages, competitiveness, self, war done, and for country improvement, interest, economic center, to provide first competition, countries that's the adjusted competition, no reason to prevent protection, cost protection, construct with the national capitalism, their natural competitive law, competitive can be overcome by strengthening market forces instead of restricting them. The politics is sad. The Marcel Petrucci advantage turns in Luxembourg in 10 of the U.S. security changes exit for power stacks, which will Catholic and the most financial the West has nation just adopted because of the stance towards favor in entire side tendencies the core national India large scale movements and truth on the world also territory as a capital learning the trade nature will chapters and power will adjust foreign policy real estate to the interest of America and its allies are keeping people being defended. That is the true path to and your inclusive good navy is the surest guarantor of peace. North Korea, no nuclear threat, ban down 9. Korea is a cover track on the American carrier, the more power than the entire North Korean military with threats of Canada. You know, the other way around, the Northern bankers will let much Kim and anyone possible to North Korea is well positioned to drive an end conflict. Kim would be far more likely to end with direct up the North Side Kim, Jong Il is seeking market capable of defending the BOK is not interested nor going to tell the nations of the possessed antiquated army Pyongyang poses no danger to America, US air and you will make conflict for North Korea. No large range missiles leading practically policy presses no present danger not to relations layer 1114 about America's military increase with South Korea will show the diplomatic authority and then it will be most volatile the Dominican Island South suggests with or without the trade agreement both with the strength and trade has internet after logistic costs and global trade like the history of South Korea's grown steadily even in bad times and skipping will pass NYT 224 Congress has been walking on the goal to improve the term capital health and have to get Western powerful reference Congress for both parties seem to be concerned about parochial interest in tandem with Cold about those who deal with social system for chamber and their fighter interest in the the White House abuse South Korea as selfish together choose deals the finance company as opposed to the fact that go far enough to support the beef market shift not until May Young have news 131 about will submit the free trade deal with South Korea to Congress to labor after a series of congressional hearings that House will could take place by the end of May and headphones sometime in June and gun control South's capital Newsweek 127 about the domestic guns this week because Governor President Trump about the second amendment the next week the White House will unveil new gun control after which ways will urge Congress to take the current laws there's going to be debating the home more evidence Washington Post 126 White House official announced the president will address the gun control policy with the most volatile divisive issues there's no internal link because anyone who would backlash against the planetary vote for skeptic Financial Times and one setting economic with the Tea Party movement in favor of thread those are types the Tea Party will say will issue a freedom they're free to buy sell compete without governmental interference it's not intrinsic because you did the plan to pass SCIPTA it's popular ban for and agents at the BBC not interfere with current immigration fees plus includes such as which is numerical limitation on immigrant visas is likely to be a lot less political tension that promotes the pressure from immigrant visa process system of quotas and underscore Connery intended for it to be taking a public to current country appointees indeed a major accomplishment for Obama right now President Obama complex and directions that often do so after which consider the internal legislative victories and national ID just said there's so much internal link because national ID would prevent things like hacking into the military and if that is true that hacking is inevitable they would just do it to something like the DMV there's no link to the plan and visa restrictions make IW tech inevitable Berkowitz and one immigration law to prevent IT companies from hiring foreign talent is as further prevented for the perspective of defense against IW striking for public intent for IW tech appeals companies dominating commercial markets to software and hardware and previously denied because Congress has been dating the national ID for years and cap increases and not for visas haven't triggered the link non-unique we already have one seen it in 6 we are ready to give national ID cards be like the act requires they to adopt the different drivers that include copy machine readable technology with an eye towards selling the data traded towards warehouse which are proved to be insecure cybersecurity attacks false impacts net news and 10 requires to blame for federal cybersecurity research and development false national science foundation international social behavior research cybersecurity would escalate because China would have no incentive to do so and they could probably track it if they would retaliate against the US. Sorry? Oh yeah, that's fine.
Alright. Did you read this card? You had self-destruction or is it just
that was in the 1EC. Remember he like read something random at the end?
Alright, that's fair. Your evidence that says remittances flows high say the remittances have experienced strong growth in the past.
No, I didn't read that card.
Alright, which one is the high card then?
It was a card that said that it was 2 authors who did an empirical study in 2010 that to predict the flow of remittances. It said that in 2011 it would increase to Latin America by 6.2%, and it said that there was yeah, sure. It assumes kind of the warranted mirror evidence, and the reason it says that is because that yes, the recession did have a small impact on remittance flows. However, that has bottomed out.
Let's talk about your evidence that says corruption causes Amazon deforestation. We can agree that corruption does have an effect on deforestation. Where's the reverse causal evidence that your plan would be able to resolve all of that corruption?
Actually, that internal link evidence is very good because it says that if there is more monitoring of the government and public accountability, that the government would be forced to respond to
but it assumes that there could be nothing like loggers still buying off politicians to get into the logging industry into Brazilian rainforest.
I'm with you, but the reason why that happens is because of low government accountability.
Right, I'm asking which evidence. Your Barajas evidence says there's some effect on democratic accountability. I agree. But which evidence says that that is enough to resolve the massive amount of deforestation that's happening in the Amazon?
Well, there's 2 things. One, the scale of remittances reduces public accountability because the government no longer has to be responsive
I get that it
to
has
the needs
some
of social
effect.
classes.
Right. But
okay, can I just, I think this line is really good, and you obviously don't believe me from my explanation of it, so I'll just reread it. So it says, good governments could eliminate deforestation from protected areas in the Amazon. I think if we read the magnitude of our internal link claim,
a perfect government, I agree, would do so. I'm asking about your reverse causal claim about an internal link to that solving those
I think it's pretty straightforward. I've explained the way that remittances reduce public accountability in the absence of that social safety net. The government has to be more accountable to Brazilian citizens. Our evidence indicates that would solve
argument. Why is the Panama Canal critical to solving whether or not there's able to deter North Korea?
Well, So there's two things. First is that our evidence indicates that it is the only channel that links the with which the United States naval carriers can travel with ease from the Western Hemisphere to locations in the Pacific. Our impact planes create the differential and says it's about the speed and efficiency
Can I just get that
with which they can travel. Okay.
That remains a sign card.
Yeah, and I read the last line that's underlined but not highlighted.
I'm with Reverend. He said I'm good.